So first thing you got to be able to tell is back front. So you can tell right left. If you screw that up, then everything's going to be screwed up. Okay, so be careful, take your time, pay attention. What you're going to look for is this diagonal right here. That's on the front of the heart.
Okay.
That's the ventral median sulcus, and that's where all the coronary vessels lie. Okay, so this is the color. Well, it depends on how bad the heart is. Okay, what it is,
it's a healthy sheep or a sick sheep?
It's actually a groove in the heart muscle, and that's where the vessels lie, and then it's covered with fat to protect the vessels. Okay, that's on the front of the heart. The apex or the point of the heart is the bottom of the left ventricle. Okay, we know that there's 4 chambers in the heart, right? No? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. The 2 upper chambers right here, these things, that's the right and left atrium. Okay, the 2 lower chambers, right here is the left ventricle, right here is the right ventricle. Okay? Just make sure you look for that sulcus so you have the front and back correct. Okay? The vessels on the outside of the heart, this one that lies across the front like this on the top, that's the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary means lung. Artery carries blood away, right? So this is the vessel that's going to take blood out to the lungs. Okay? The great big one that's right on top, right here, that's the aorta. Okay? Right on top. Biggest one. That's the biggest artery in the body. That's going to come up. It's going to make a big old U-turn, follow the spine, go right down the body, and then it branches off to feed all the organ systems. Okay? The first branch off the aorta after it leaves the heart, this right here, is the brachiocephalic artery. Brachii means arm, cephalic means head. So this artery here branches off right and left and up. Okay? So pulmonary artery, aorta, brachiocephalic. Okay? Okay. So then we need to look at some internal anatomy.
And that prevents food from going down the trachea because of the esophagus.
Let's see what we got.
Send you my video.
That's fine. Okay.
Just looking for see if you have a better one than I do.
Go.
Oh, this one might do for now. Okay, again, this is the front of the heart because there's that sulcus, right? So if we open this baby up, a sandwich.
Yummy.
Okay, again, the apex is the bottom of the left ventricle. So this is all left ventricle, all of this. That's huge. This is the right one, much smaller, which makes sense because this has to pump blood through the whole body. This just has to pump out to the heart, out to the lungs.
Okay.
Okay? So the large one is always the left. Okay? There are valves between the upper chambers and the lower chambers, and those are called cuspid valves. It's a 3-part valve on the right. It's a tricuspid. It's a 2-part valve on the left. It's a bicuspid. Okay? So first, I wanted to show you some of the inside of the, well, this is what's left of the inside of the atrium. You see all these ridges? That's muscle. Because the atria, the top chambers, have to contract as well. And that's called pectinate muscle. The muscle that's on the inside of the atrium. Okay, that's pectinate muscle. So if we look here,
You're right.
man, not that
Do you
one.
want me to hold that for you? Oh, I know, your eyes are all watering now.
Ooh,
They're burning.
they bothering you?
It's okay.
Okay. All right, oh, here we go. This is a good picture of the inside of the atrium, right there. See all that muscle?
Oh yeah, look at that.
See that? That's the pectinate muscle on the inside of the atrium. Okay? So this is the right side, the smaller one, okay? So that atrium is going to contract to send blood down here to the right ventricle. So to do that, it has to go through the tricuspid valve, the 3-part valve. A cusp is a flap of tissue, and here's your flaps. See that? These are your little flaps of tissue right here. Okay? And those flaps of tissue are connected to these little strings. Those are called the chordae tendineae, or tiny tendons. Okay? And those, in turn, are anchored to these bulbous things here. These are papillary muscles on the wall of the ventricle. So what happens is when that heart muscle contracts, it puts tension on these little tendons, pulls them, that closes the valve. When the heart muscle relaxes, right between beats, relaxes, releases the tension, opens the valve. Okay? So again, here's the cusp, here's the chordae tendineae, there's the papillary muscle.
Now there's 3 cusps in there?
It's a 3-part valve. So this is 1 on this side, this is 2 on this side, and the other one would be
On that side, okay.
on this part of the heart over here. Okay? And then if we go to the left side, same deal. Okay, here's the cusp, the big flap of tissue, right up here. Here's all the little chordae tendineae, and those are all attached to the papillary muscle. Okay. In addition, if you look at the bottom of that ventricle, you see all those big ridges down there? Those ridges of muscle on the bottom? Those are called the trabeculae carnae muscle. And that's extra muscle just in the left ventricle so that it can contract really hard, because you need a lot of pressure to pump blood all around the body, right? Okay? So again, there's the cusp, the bicuspid, the chordae tendineae, the papillary muscle, and then the trabeculae carnae muscle at the bottom. Okay? There are also valves between the ventricles and the vessels leading out of the heart. Okay? So we know that right ventricle is going to contract and send blood out through the pulmonary artery. Okay? So if we look at right where that pulmonary artery begins, if we can open this up a little bit in here, the valves that lead out of the heart are called semilunar valves, and they're basically just little flaps of tissue. And that's what's on this side here, this little flap here, and this little flap that's ripped over here on this side, what's left of it. So here's half of the valve over here, and then here's the other part of it over here on that wall. Okay? And that just kind of pinches, open and closed, open and closed. And that's right at the beginning of that pulmonary artery, so it's the pulmonary semilunar valve.
And that helps push the blood out to the lungs.
That goes, yep, out to the lungs. And then we have another valve to regulate flow from the left ventricle out that big aorta. So if we open this up to where the aorta is, right there, okay? And you can see that tissue right on either side of that probe. That's the aortic semilunar valve. See that little bit of tissue on that side and a little bit of tissue on the other side? Okay, and that regulates flow, that opens and closes, that regulates flow out through the aorta. Okay?
Okay, what's next?
We did the liver, we did the stomach.
That's it?